I'm Christian Abbott.
I'm Nathan Lavender.
I'm Sean Abbott, and this is the Red Mist Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Red Mist Podcast, Season 4, Episode 8. You know what number 8 means?
Kyle Busch.
Junior?
Oh, Junior. Wait, no. Oh, jeez, that was bad. Busch is 18. Right?
No, I think he's driving. Oh, no, wait a minute.
Hold up.
Anyways, it's the 2002 Chevrolet Monte Carlo, driven by Dale Earnhardt Jr.,
Okay.
as prepared by DEI,
Yes.
and that means Dale Earnhardt Incorporated.
Okay, I was right about Kyle Busch. He is driving the number 8 car. He used to drive the 18.
18, right. Anyways, so
Wow.
and that was a Budweiser livery sponsored
Yeah,
car.
yes. Junior's Budweiser,
Fantastic.
yes.
Yep. And this
God.
was iconic in the sense that he won 2002. This is the year after his dad passed away.
Yeah.
4 consecutive wins. Didn't like this. I think the big win that year was at I don't know. Didn't say. Shoot. Anyways, doesn't matter. It was a good car.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, there we go. 2 weeks in a row, and Captain Nate is not here for it.
No.
No.
His loss.
He's on top secret assignment.
Yeah.
Anyways, on tonight's episode, we have NASCAR from Homestead. Somebody was going for a three-peat over the weekend. NTT IndyCar
You mean NASCAR?
at Thermal, and I do say at Thermal.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then we'll talk F1 from Shanghai. Thought it was a good race. And we'll jump into some news and notes. There's breaking news or rumors everywhere
Oh.
at this hour, so we will get into it. Let's jump to NASCAR, and let's congratulate Kyle Larson. Only led 20 laps in the race, but hung around at the front all day, basically riding the wall, and like seriously wearing out the right rear fender in his car.
As he does.
He was up as he does because he can run the high line.
Mm-hmm.
He was also going for the three-peat this weekend. I mean the three-peat, which was he won the truck race on Friday night, and then Sam Mayer restart. Which had he not, Sam Mayer decided to use Larson as a stopping thing on a restart. Plowed right into him, and basically Kyle didn't get the start he wanted to. Finished third, but had he got a clean start, I think he would have won. So he would have had the three-peat.
Mm-hmm.
So we can safely call him the king of Homestead. So Larson is now locked in. Very excited about that, at least on my end. Don't know about the rest of you, but I am. We had Bowman was second. He was leading comfortably. Larson chewed him up in the last part of the final stage, and then Bowman made a mistake and kind of rubbed the wall the wrong way. Allowed Larson to go by. Darrell Wallace with a fine weekend, finished third. Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin. Denny had a good week. finally. Chris Buescher, the Dinger, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Preece, and Justin Haley. That was your top 10. It was not a good week for Penske, both in NASCAR or in IndyCar. Blaney blew up. Logano finished 14th, and Cindric finished 19th.
Yeah, and hasn't Blaney blown a motor every race?
Yeah, that is. He has 2 blown motors, and he was not thrilled. Let's put it this way on the radio. All right. So do we need to go into the points yet, or we're gonna wait a bit?
I mean, win and in right now, and there's 4 different winners right now.
Yeah, we got Christopher Bell.
Yep.
I think we got Bowman, right? Oh, Waylon Byron. Byron. And then we have, what's his name?
Larson.
Not Larson and...
Josh Berry.
Josh Berry.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, anyways. So that's all that matters right now. Yeah, I know. Why are we worried? You can't... can't worry about that.
It's win and in. That's all that matters.
Win and in, and then we'll worry about that. Next race, though, on the paperclip, Martinsville. We have Ross Chastain ride the wall.
If he does, or anyone else does, they'll be.
Will he be? He'll be disqualified?
Yeah.
Because what? Why is that a problem?
It's a safety hazard.
It's a safety hazard, but he is not evading track limits. He's staying within the track.
He is.
And he's creating damage to his own car. So why is it a problem?
But he's destroying the track.
Oh,
and
okay.
The track's outer
so
barriers
NASCAR doesn't want fun.
No. Look, you get in motorsports. The beautiful thing is, if you find a way to optimize the rule set, usually you get one shot at it.
You get one shot at it, right?
After that, then everyone starts complaining because they didn't think of it before you did. So
I know.
Yeah,
it was still one of the most fantastic moves in racing I've ever seen.
That moment, out of every NASCAR race, that moment is still the clearest image of what happened.
Which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
Anyways. All right. So Sunday, Martinsville. All right. I will have it taped. I may actually watch that. I do like the racing there. All right. Let's move on to IndyCar. Now, what were your thoughts on the race?
I did. I'll be honest. I didn't watch it because let me rephrase this. I forgot that it was even happening because I was so.
How could you forget about all the promotion?
Because I didn't
Fox
see.
put out there.
I didn't see any Fox promotion because I was so tuned in to March Madness. So I had CBS, True TV, TNT, and TBS. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was paying attention way more to that, and then also, but I had the F1 race on in the morning, and then once that ended, I went right into March Madness. So then
Gotcha.
I was scrolling and saw, oh, there's a race today. I was like, yeah, that's right. And I think the next time I looked down at my phone to see what time it was like an hour and a half past green flag. So
Gotcha.
I tuned in just in time for like the last 10, 15 laps and watched
which
Palou
was actually
overtake
the last.
Pato.
That was the highlight of the race.
Yeah, because when I tuned in at that point, I was shocked that they had said that they've been going green the whole way and there was cautions.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So let's all right. So let's set the scene.
I know. I know Pato got pole. So
yeah, we went back. We went to the Thermal Club. That track is it's garbage. It's absolute garbage.
Well, okay. I don't think it's. I guess how do I want to compare this? Like, there's other tracks that they race at that are very single file. So,
a street track.
Street track. I'm gonna say Laguna to some extent.
Yeah, it hasn't been. Laguna has not been exactly close rate.
I would also go with Barber too.
Yep.
So
Mid Ohio.
Yeah. Yep. Mid Ohio. Now look.
And I think some of it has to do with the. I would like they need to find a solution with the tires at those tracks. To make the racing a little more.
Well, I think unfortunately, no, that's a bad way of saying it. Every time I've watched a race and I don't get into any of the tire strategy or anything like that during practice. Yeah. So like whatever they put up on that graphic at the start of the race is pretty much what I get. And I'll say 9 out of 10 times there's a clear tire that's better than the other. Yeah. And you switch, you go to the one tire, but like because that's really the tire to be on. You're just on the other one at a time in the race when you think you won't be on it the longest. Right. Which again is totally fine in every racing strategy. Like that's how you maximize your pace and be as fast as you can. Like it makes total sense. But yeah, like to your point with the alternates, how they were describing it for those last 10 laps that I was watching, it sounded like Palou should have, hit a cliff, but he didn't. And
yeah, well, we're getting ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah,
so overall the track is garbage. It's not a proper track for pro racing. I'm sorry.
You know what I think is. It's not so much the track being single file. I think It's not that it's single file. I think just the jumps from the bumps that were there.
I'm not even talking that. That is a club track. That is a time attack track. That's all that is. Right, it is not a proper racing track.
But I think the main thing that I'm gonna get to is the event flops because there's no fans there.
Well, it flops. Yeah, there's no fans.
But the fans that are there are the select few that can afford an outrageous ticket or entry into it because a member.
Yeah, I mean there were IndyCar fanatics that would go to that race, but I wouldn't personally pay to go. I'm just talking the track itself is a time attack track. Okay, it's like you could never have if you just at Lime Rock. Just say if you would never put an IndyCar race on there because it would suck. Okay. Yeah. It would suck. Yeah. Even if they could keep the cars from blowing up over the hill and stuff, would suck.
It's very narrow.
Lime Rock is not.
No. Thermal. I thought Thermal was very narrow.
It's a time, yeah, but like I'm just trying to say that Lime Rock's a proper track. But when you race sports cars at Lime Rock, it's a very damn good track. Okay, when you race big, like an IndyCar type car there, it's not a good track. Okay, large open wheel cars there are not good. So it's like you could just, I'm like going, this is where guys come to run their fast cars and do laps. They're not racing each other. I mean, it's like, oh, let me take my Koenigsegg out and do some laps. That's what they do there. Some guy has an old LMP1 Audi. He's taking it out there. I mean, it's all good. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I wish I could go and do that and just tool around the track and have a blast. But for a high level professional racing series, it sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, I don't know. It was just, there were guys getting caught up, like behind people, trying to separate. I mean, it was just awful, for qualifying. The surprise in qualifying, I have to say, was Alexander Rossi. Got to the fast six, finished sixth in qualifying. But that was a fantastic showing for Ed Carpenter Racing. Louis Foster, another great qualifying effort, qualified 10th. The Shank guys were 7th and 9th. Armstrong, fantastically strong outing, and that. So, I mean, but the big surprise was Team Penske, who was out to lunch. And none of their cars got through Q1. So their highest starting car, bear with me for a second, was Newgarden at 17th.
Yeah, that's not.
And then
not great.
And then he was claiming he got blocked by somebody, which he didn't. He was. There was so many excuses coming out of these guys. It was hilarious. McLaughlin spun on the outlap. That was hilarious. It was just, but they were out to lunch the whole weekend.
Yeah.
So Pato, then his teammate Lundgaard were 1-2. Palou was third. Herta was fourth with a consistent run throughout practice, through qualifying, leading into the race. And then, like I said, I think Rossi was definitely a surprise for qualifying. Let's go to the race. Let's talk about the race. I was, McLaren, after they qualify 1-2, of course, all of a sudden, then it's just, blah, 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 we're ready, for the race. And then what do they do? Strategy right from the beginning. Because they went with a set of new sticker softs.
Okay.
Which means, as the race progressed, all they had left at that point were blacks, and the only other soft tire they had was a set of used reds. Other teams did the smart thing, which was start on the used reds and save the new reds for the end. Everyone started on blacks, did the same thing, but they were able to do two things. They could either go black, and then decide what soft tire they wanted to use, whether it was a new or a used, for that last run, depending on how many laps. But McLaren, no, not them. I mean, this team. I'm Pato. Again, I can't. I feel this kid. I feel bad. Between some of the strategy calls and then just some of the strategy overall that they do, how many wins have they cost him? Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely
quite
a bit of
and
this.
And then, but then, it's like here's Ganassi. It's like, Ganassi's like the snake in the weeds. They just hang around.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, now it's time to go. And, that's not, I don't think, Dixon's best track. I mean, he ended up finishing 10th. He started 9th, finished 10th. I'm sorry, started 11th, finished 10th. Just kind of, I would say that was a very pedestrian race for Scott Dixon. He did migrate himself up into the top 5 at some points. Again, I think based on Ganassi's strategy. But Palou, third, hangs around. Two in the McLaren are just running around, and they're just waiting. Like, they know McLaren's just going to screw the strategy up. They must have laughed when they saw the car start on the tires it did. Palou, what he did was he extended the blacks, and Herta was doing the same thing when they saw this. They extended the run on their blacks, and then what they did was they came back and went on the blacks again because McLaren couldn't. The gap stayed at about 11 seconds, but when you put the reds, the new sticker reds like they put on at the end, he leapfrogged. I mean, he knocked so much time off, and he was up Lundgaard's rear end, and then once he passed him, which it was a great fight. Clean fight. There was overlap passing and stuff. It was great stuff for 2 laps. And it was more so the drivers than the track that caused that. But then once he cleared him, O'Ward was a sitting duck. It was, and sure enough, he was. And they go down the front straightaway, and Palou pulls out and just goes right by him. It was wow. I mean, I just, it was just an overall fantastic drive by him, and strategy call by the folks at Ganassi.
Yeah, I mean that last stint there was great. I mean, like I said, I didn't see any of the first 3/4 of the race, so it's the pit strategy graphic that I saw. And the way they were wording it just made it sound like you didn't even want to be on the Reds, and clearly that was the wrong.
You want to be on the Reds at the end of the race. That's where you wanted to be, because that was a shorter run.
Right, but like they also said too, towards the end of the broadcast, the last time that they had a caution-free race was 4 or 5 years ago. So
I agree. So but what would have happened?
You don't. It's not that you would have put the Reds on. You would have definitely put the Reds on at the end. It's you would have put the Reds on at whichever point you think you could make up positions on track. Because if you can't pass at that track, or if there's very, very limited opportunities at passing, you want to maximize it.
Yeah, but when the front guy goes on those new Reds at the beginning of the race, his die is cast.
Correct.
That's what I don't understand is why would you do that? Because I would have saved it to the end and just, suffered, because honestly the drop off wasn't that much. But what it was when it went on and you could light them up, you were able to make up time, as Palou proved.
Right, but I mean,
in the closing stage of the races, he was only worrying about 15 laps.
Right, but I mean, on the flip side of it, is that Palou was on pole. So if you put the Reds on,
no, he wasn't. Palou wasn't on pole.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Pato. My bad. If Pato's on pole, then if you put the Reds on, you have the clear track in front of you to make the most use out of them.
He couldn't. But the biggest gap he had on the front was 13 seconds. That was it.
Right. So then, I'm guessing from how the race then went, he just was losing time on the blacks.
He was losing time on the blacks. That was the whole thing.
So it didn't.
So the time
it wouldn't have mattered when he put the Reds on, because he was losing so much time on the blacks compared to Palou.
Started who? No.
Pat.
Had he gone with the same strategy that Palou had, he would have stayed in front. There is no way to catch him. They were all on the same tire.
Yeah, but then Pato wouldn't have gotten his gap at the start of the race.
It didn't matter. The gap went away because he lost time on the blacks all the way throughout the rest of the race. Had he stayed on everybody other than the 2 McLarens, everybody in the front started on blacks. I think the only other person that started on some type of red was Rossi on a used set. Everyone else started on the blacks.
Right, but
they all went black.
Right, but my point is to say everyone was a ghost on track and you could go right through them, so you just time trial the track to run the event as fast as you possibly can. Pato and McLaren were not quick on the blacks, so even if they ran blacks at the start of the race, they wouldn't have had this absurd gap to pull out from the field. They would have been slow just in front, or have gotten worked by to get through.
That's not the case, because on the blacks, all the cars were in the same time frame. Okay, they were all in the same time bucket. That front 10 cars was all in the same time bucket. The gap would have been seconds.
So then where did he lose the lap time? Which stint was slowest?
When he did the first stint on the new reds and he switched to the blacks and stayed there, but because they were able to close the gap on the blacks a little bit, but Pato came back. He dropped that 13 seconds drop because he didn't build it out to, like, say 25 seconds, 30 seconds.
So his alternate tire stint was the worst one.
The Reds didn't go. The Reds were never going to go that fast. But what happened was he didn't build enough of a gap on the Reds. But what happened with Palou was, because O'Ward didn't build enough of a gap, and he was able to eat into him with the blacks when he was on the black, and then he went to the Reds at the end, he was actually able to chew up all that time, and that's what happened. I mean, they should have saved the Reds McLaren should have saved the Reds for the end when it was needed, because the blacks was the strategy to start on. It was awful.
Yeah.
It wasn't like at St. Petersburg, where everyone started on the Reds and you knew something was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, bang, I can get off these things because those tires were junk there.
Yeah.
So,
well, and
I don't know.
Sorry, but again, to that point, that's how they were describing the Reds over the broadcast. That's what I thought was going to happen, and it didn't.
It didn't happen because
it
didn't happen because it was hot, but it wasn't. It was just I think the amount of rubber on the track and stuff over the weekend kind of made the track a little bit better, that type of thing. So, but anyways, again, it was clearly, once again, McLaren just, I have no idea what they do. I mean, if I'm him, the amount of wins that they've cost them is just ridiculous. And I mean, Lundgaard, I don't know, quick, but he wasn't Pato quick, but they both weren't Palou quick. So, but anyway.
No, but I mean, and take Palou out of it. I mean, they were still way ahead of the rest of the field.
Yeah, they were ahead. Yeah, they were ahead.
I mean, really, like, the one guy that you got beat was by Palou. So, you didn't win, but I mean, like, you didn't get upset by some other.
I know, but now
on the grid.
But now you got a guy he's on a streak now. He's got 2 wins to go into Long Beach, and he can conceivably win there.
He's been on a streak for the past 2 years. Like, he's in his.
I know, but
in his prime stage right now in IndyCar.
I will say this: Herta did exactly what he should have done, was just run. He didn't have the fastest car. He just had he had a consistent car, and he was consistently 4th throughout the weekend. So good on him.
Yeah, look, I mean where is it? All that matters in IndyCar is consistent finishes, or consistently high finishes.
I think that's what they're trying. I think that's how they're approaching it. I think Palou's approach is the same way. It's just that he's quick, and the strategy, they're able to react to the strategy better than McLaren can.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
anyway.
Unfortunately for Herta, St. Pete didn't go the way he wanted.
That fuel issue killed him.
It's races like that hurt in the long run. So
had that not happened, he probably would have had a top 5 finish.
Right. If you can consistently be in the top 5, then the only thing that separates you from there is whether you have Palou-like abilities.
The king of that is Scott Dixon. So
yes,
he's proved that.
Yeah,
so I think that's the approach they're taking.
Yes.
But anyway, so again, it was fine. We had a power failure. Don't know if you heard about this. In the TV compound. In the TV compound. So for those of us watching on TV, we did not see the race for 25 minutes. After trying to reestablish or figure out what was going on, got to watch the NASCAR race. That was entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. We watched the NASCAR race during the IndyCar race, which they're heavily promoting. That's another shot in the foot. Plus, you were going head to head with IndyCar and IndyCar is going head to head with NASCAR. We know who's going to win that battle.
Yeah.
Still, even though the ratings, even though NASCAR, whatever. There's just that's what's going to happen. And they had you had March Madness going on.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So the blackout didn't help.
No, the blackout didn't help, but competing with NASCAR definitely didn't help. I mean, you're always going to have weekends where you're on with some other sports. But
you had sent this along.
Yeah, the
hold on a second, let me find it here.
And Racer put out an article of the viewership over the weekends, and I mean, NASCAR topped the spot. Look in the group text.
No, wait a minute.
I mean, on
right here, I got it. Article, sorry, I'm on the Racer website. Yeah. So NASCAR pulled in. So overall, St. Pete 2 weeks ago, we had 1.4 million viewers. This weekend, 700,000.
Yeah, so half the viewership.
That's half the viewership. Now I will chuck that up to. I'm going to chuck that more up to March Madness.
Yeah, but
but I will also chuck it up to the fact that they were running head to head with NASCAR.
Right. The other there's other factors that are in at play here, but at just face value, the other numbers to look at is the comparison of viewership to last year and this year.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. The NASCAR race was on FS1.
Yeah.
The IndyCar race is on Fox. So when you type Fox in, that's the first thing you're going to see. People still bypass that to go find a NASCAR race. That's what was going on there.
Yeah.
I mean that there's no excuse around that.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, Christian, that other thing that was
Yeah, because
now
what was the saving group? It's 7. It was still like 700.
788 last year.
788. Yeah, so almost 100,000 shy of last year. But I mean, it's
last year. Now,
there's other factors, but it's just not good. And then they put out, I don't know if it was that same article, but the title of it was like the talks about what they were going to do for next year with that track. So it'll be interesting.
Let's pray they don't. Anyways, at least on my end. And the other telltale was, I know Fox. Overall, they're up 21%, but that's because they had a ginormous St. Pete rating. But I don't think there was anything going on that weekend.
Not really.
And didn't the race start at like some ridiculous time, like 1 o'clock or something?
Yeah, 1, 2. I mean, it's on the East Coast, so it can't go.
Yeah,
it's not too late.
Because
WEC that weekend was on Friday, so it wasn't a big deal. MotoGP was earlier in the morning, so that's not gonna run into anything there.
And that's you're right. Yeah, it was that was wild. Anyways, I have to wait and see where it goes at Long Beach. I really there's still some quirks with the telecast. There's no I didn't see anything with the push to pass. I didn't see the thing I don't like, which I like in Formula One, is the time gap, which they used to do on NBC. I don't know why it's not there.
In the race or in the
race?
Qualifying?
In the race.
Okay.
In the race.
Yeah,
you don't see how far back. Only when they show the time. Only when they show the differential between two cars do they show it, like on the screen on the bottom. But it's not in the box, like when you got on the F1 broadcast, so you can track how someone's got DRS and that's
no.
I'd like to see that.
So I've seen them put an interval on that timing board, but it's the gap to the leader. It's not the gap to the car
next
in front.
guy.
Yeah, so you don't
I like,
you don't get that,
and that's where it was
one either.
I like the way it was last year.
Right.
Because I had watched all the practice and qualifying. If I saw one more time Townsend Bell explaining the brake bias adjustment, I was going to lose my mind. Now, don't want to. If you want to show it in free practice 1, that's fine. But during the race, that's a far more interesting thing. But anyone that watched that throughout the broadcast, watched that broadcast all weekend, saw it 4 times.
Mm.
And like in qualifying, I don't know in qualifying it doesn't bring anything. During a race, because you're running long stints and the cars, the weight's changing in the car because of the fuel loads and stuff. It's much more relevant. So it was fine in FP1, but like the rest of the weekend, don't show until the race. But they showed it in every session, and it was the same stupid lead-in that Townsend did with it. So it was ridiculous. Also, the other quirky thing, it's fantastic that Alex Rossi likes the Hawaiian pizza with pineapple and ham. I could care less. Okay, don't care. Just put the driver up there, put his hobbies, married, kids, single, whatever. That's all I want. Hometown. That's all I want to see. Number of years in that, whatever his racing background is.
That's what you want to see, but what about these new fans
that
want to get to know the drivers?
I will say this.
In these drivers' lives.
I will say this. Did abandon the stupid comic book graphics, picture graphics.
Yeah. So the only thing I'll add on to this thing is I did see that they revamped the graphics again.
Yeah.
I've gone through some comments and whatnot, and I get the argument for not just copying and pasting what NBC had from last year and the years before, but yeah, they're gonna go through some pains for this season until I think enough people just say like it's fine if you copy them. Because it gives you the information you want. I did see a icon for the push to pass when they brought up the markers over the cars to like when they followed them, and then it would light up when they were on the button. But to your point, like there's no amount of it unless it's that red bar that was supposed to be a completed circle within the white circle. It was tough to read. So I mean, like just show.
Now,
show
what I did find insightful was Hinchcliffe when they went to the shot where they were over at the driver's head, looking down, out at the track, but you can see the steering wheel, but you can see all the lights lighting up and stuff. And then Hinch went through the process of describing what was going on with those sequences of lights and stuff, which was pretty cool, which I found insightful.
Yeah, I mean that's
the kind of stuff I want.
They'll figure it out, and
but that wasn't scripted. That was him going, "Oh, I can bring this up right now." Like he knew to bring that up. Like it wasn't scripted in the show prep or anything. He clearly brought that up. It wasn't like Townsend when he explained because they went right. It was canned when they went to the brake bias thing.
Yeah.
But
no,
because as soon as they showed one guy go to it, we're like, that's when we're going to go to it. So like Townsend was watching for it,
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, let's just quickly run. Yeah, let's just quickly run through top 10 for the race. We had Palou, Award, Lundgaard, Colton Herta, Felix Rosenquist. Driver of the day, Will Power, started 21st, finished 6th. Madman, it was awesome. Marcus Armstrong finished 7th, started 7th, good race there. Kyle Kirkwood, Rossi dropped back, but still 10s in his first 2 races. That's fantastic for that team. And then Dixon was 10th. Graham Rahal finished the respectable 11th. So good stuff there. Scotty Mack, you want to talk about Scotty Mack and Devlin DeFrancesco?
No, I don't, because I was actually
That was wild.
I didn't even. Actually, this is the other thing. On my feed on social media, I did not see who won, who got the pole, who any other moment of the race or highlight, whatever, that got posted. The first thing that I saw about this weekend was that. What was the
It was awesome. The altercation
discussion? Yeah, the discussion between McLaughlin and DeFrancesco, and it took
McLaughlin
me.
used that word that they use in the Commonwealth countries quite a bit.
But the thing is like, I'm seeing this altercation, but then they never show what incident it was that occurred between the two.
Yeah. So then I'm having to go. Happened,
so I ended up finding it out, but like it took me forever to find this.
I have no idea what DeFrancesco was doing. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
he literally just drove right into him.
But then that was the other thing about the clip that I did find when it was on the race and they were like figuring it out. They never cut to DeFrancesco's onboard, so like you couldn't even see what his perspective was.
I know, it was hilarious.
Because the only thing that he was claiming the whole time was like that Scott turned in on him, and I was like, dude, from the TV and from Scott's view, it doesn't even look like he left you, clearly left you enough room, but I have no idea where you were or what you were thinking. So that's.
Yeah, and then and that had nothing to do. Ultimately, McLaughlin was the first car out. It had nothing to do with that. It was the hybrid issue or something? Yeah, I don't know. There was some issue there.
Yeah.
Anyways, so it was just overall day for Penske. Overall, they were out to lunch. Completely.
Yeah.
Power did whatever he did, so it was a fantastic finish.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next up, we're off to Long Beach.
Yep.
Oh my God, April 13th. Holy hell! What am I gonna do for like 3 weeks? I don't know. Anyways, how did we do on our picks there?
I did really good with Herta and Rosenquist, so I got fourth and fifth right there. Nate got the winner correct with Palou.
Hello, Palou!
I guess on a race average, took a dip because he chose VK, so 17th finish.
Scotty Mack.
Yeah, Scotty Mack for you did not work out. Rossi, your dark horse finished higher than your winner pick.
So my dark horse did the best out of everybody's dark horse, right?
No, my dark horse did better. It was Rosenquist.
Oh, who was your dark? Oh, you had Rosenquist. Okay. Yeah. What did Nate have? Connor Daly?
No, he had VK.
Oh, VK. Yeah. Well, it wasn't. He had a mediocre. Well, he had a decent race. Considering. Anyways, all right. So we're off to Long Beach next. So we'll see if the streak continues with Palou.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to it.
Yes. Chinese Grand Prix.
Shanghai.
I gotta say, I like this track.
Track too.
I don't really have an issue with it. It's the only complex section of it is the S's in the second sector, but
is it?
It's
what about
fine.
what about the as you go down the first corner, that little kind of sweep snake there? It goes to the right, then the track falls away, it goes back to the left. Through one
they
and two
dip
there.
down the hill.
Yeah. And
I like it.
Is that where Max put the move on
Leclerc? Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
went around the outside.
On the outside.
Yeah.
Holy hell. What a move. Anyways, Team McLaren, good job. I don't even want to talk about it. Congrats to Lewis in the sprint race. I can't even talk about the sprint race. It's just I don't know what it accomplishes. The only thing it proved was Max was actually kind of consistently fast. Honestly.
No, the only thing it proves is if a driver or team hit the setup on the car to be decent or really good, then they're out front. And if you miss,
right.
you don't really have a second chance to
right.
adapt.
Right.
So I'll save it for when we go into
now. Oscar finished second, correct, in the sprint.
Yep.
Yeah. So so that was good for him. But this is Max being Max. Okay, this is like him being Palou. Okay, he minimizes the damage and finishes third in that race. Okay, he probably should have finished fourth.
Yeah,
but Lando couldn't get it together.
No,
and Oscar got him towards the end of the stint, which was fine. Because the McLaren is the faster car. So, anyways, minimizes.
I think the Red Bull definitely used up its tires. Max definitely saw his chance to go for the lead, which was fine, but he just couldn't get there. So then he just used up enough of it.
But then he managed it.
Yeah.
So whatever, and then you come to qualifying, right? Jesus. Then they have qualifying again. And then, it's McLaren, Russell, Max. But then Ferrari kind of goes out to lunch. Things like that. It's just like I don't know. Like I don't know what else has to prove that he's probably right now the best driver in Formula One.
Max?
Yeah.
No, he has to do nothing.
Because
if
he's in the McLaren, he's cakewalking everybody.
Out of his 4 world championships, his last one was the seal.
So I was
to prove it, because the first one, you can sit there and say controversy. The second one, dominant car. Third one, definitely dominant car. So you could sit there and just say well.
And last year it was just sheer will.
Last year that's what I'm saying. Last year proved that he is the best driver, and put any critics to rest, because you can't sit there and say it was just the car, because it clearly wasn't just the car, because he didn't have the car the whole season. So
So and last year at this time he had lost 18 points from the first race.
Yeah.
Whereas this time around he scored points. So this is Fat Zach better be looking over his shoulder. Okay, because if they find one thing with that car and it gets a little bit quicker.
Well, and Lando said it too in a press conference, because George made a comment of we're looking at 26 because McLaren's already got this wrapped up clearly, but Lando had a good attitude to it of that's great that's where he's at or thinking, but hit the McLaren last year or even the year prior was the slowest car on the grid at that time, and then they ended up having the fastest car by the end of the season. So you can't say that with how the rules are now and how the grid is, it's very close. And I've said this too over the past couple of years, even though the races can get very drawn out and there's not really a close battle for the win all the time or anything like that. That's how F1 has been. But over the last few years, it's gotten closer and closer. You don't have it's not what Mercedes was in 2014 or 15, where after 5 laps, the 2 cars were ahead by 30 seconds or something like that. Like, it was
Right.
everyone is like thinking, in the heyday of like, oh, like this is a great era or whatever. I'm like, no, that car was so dominant. It's actually a mystery of why they didn't sweep a season.
Yeah.
Because they would rock up to a race and just cakewalk everyone. It was the same way that that Vettel was with Red Bull at one point. Like after he got out ahead by 1 second, like he was gone. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
No one was hanging with them.
No.
But that's not to say that that car was dominant every single race of the season. No, like the first half of 2012 was 7 different winners in 7 different races, and it wasn't until the second half of the season where he then swept the back end of the calendar. So
yeah, you're right.
But and I'm rambling on here, but like qualifying is still what gets me, because like in Q1 this past weekend, the grid was within a second or like a second and a quarter of each other from top to bottom. Like, that is impressive. Yeah. You go back 20 years, like you're talking multiple seconds down the order. It's so much closer now.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, from the race perspective, the McLarens did what they had to do.
Yes,
George made a good start. Jump Max on the start.
Yeah, I think Max is being a little ambitious of trying to go around the outside, which, I mean,
which cost him a couple spots, and then he's able
you're not gonna win them all. So it is what it is.
But then he kind of settled into his pace and ran to his strategy.
Yep.
And that strategy, I mean, he literally fell behind the 2 Ferraris, right?
Yeah.
So his strategy at that point was, theirs was the end game, that they were going to try and be fast at the end, which they ended up ultimately being.
Yep.
Because Max was able. I mean, it was GP was just telling him, "Okay, you're the quickest. You're the quickest." And he wasn't going to get past the 2 Ferraris, and then if they could get to George, they get to George. But I don't think that was going to be realistic. But you never know. I mean, and you never know how reliable the Mercedes might be. So, Max took that car and got it up to, got the 4th. I mean, George pretty much held course the whole race. I mean, he didn't, his car is what it is, I think the Red Bull, if it gets quicker, will leapfrog the Mercedes. I don't know if it's ever going to leapfrog the 2 McLarens, but, if the McLarens get in a dogfight with the 2 drivers, Max is going to be hanging around now, because they're going to be basically taking points away from each other.
Yeah. Mercedes is a silent killer right now. Like, they're just... They're just there. And, like, because, again, the same thing could happen with them, too. They could figure something out and, move the car up. Like, they're just... I guess silent killer is giving them more credit than what they are. They're just there, I'll say.
I would say Red Bull's there too.
I'm
gonna say
no. Max is there.
Oh, Max is there. All right. What team I'm gonna say is not there? It's Ferrari.
Sort of. Like they're there, but like
my expectation for them this year was that they would be the second. They would be right behind the McLarens. They're not. Okay, they dominate the sprint race, but then screw up the cars for qualifying, and then it leads into the race. The cars are Leclerc gets compromised with the broken front wing. Lewis, whatever happened there happened. I don't know. I mean, I think some of it, I don't want to disparage Lewis, but I'm going to be honest with you. Carlos is more of a tactician than Lewis is.
Tactician?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, meaning he can tell the engineers what's going on with the car. He knows what's going on with the race. Whereas Lewis is like, guys, you got to tell me this. You got to tell me that. Like, Lewis can't think ahead like Max and Carlos can during the race.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying, be able to tell. You got to be able to give the feedback as to what the car's doing, or it's like, or you got to sit there and tell them. He just kind of rolls over and says, "This is the strategy," and then he goes, "Ah, that didn't work." And it's like, dude, put your foot down. You're a 7-time world champion. They're going to listen to you.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion.
No, I think I've been on that same opinion. Like he's very talented, but he just like this. That's where, like I put Max and Carlos very high together, and it's just because Carlos has a very high mental capacity.
Right, because when you sit there and anyways, I don't want to,
Yeah.
Let's again, just Ferrari just out to lunch, and ultimately they get DQ'd.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the biggest thing out of all this.
They got to wait. They're underweight on Leclerc's car, and then they're right height infraction on Lewis's car, or a plank infraction. I mean, come on, I mean, they basically threw away a 5th and a 6th place finish.
Yeah, they're at a point where Haas is the leading Ferrari car.
Yeah. So let's get down into that group of drivers there. That next group. Ocon finished 7th on track.
Mm-hmm.
Ollie Berman finished 10th. Fantastic drive by Ollie. I will say this one word that he said twice. Ciao. Did you hear that? It was awesome.
Yeah,
he passed Gasly twice, and both times as he went by on the radio, it was ciao.
No, great race by Haas. Definitely a bounce back from Australia. I was really shocked at their.
Antonelli with another consistent finish. That's fine. He's doing what he should do. Another overachieving finish for Alex Albon. Fantastic.
Yep. Yeah, he's now outscored his points total from last year in 2 races.
And then Gasly finished 11th, but then he got bounced because he was underweight. So that moved Stroll up into 9th and Carlos up into 10th, so double points for Williams.
Yeah.
So good for them.
Carlos was definitely on the back foot this weekend, but also I saw a report that Williams is on old chassis, like they're not even on the new ones yet.
I don't know. I don't know if that's. I can't really comment on that.
Well, I think one is Carlos's crash from Australia, which that stunk. Like that was definitely points in the bag for him. But then having that incident, then you gotta repair the car, and if they're already having some budget issues, then of course, like you're gonna bite the bullet now so you can have some more success later on.
Right.
Because they're clearly still being strategic about stuff, which is fine. Like every team has to do what they need to. But yeah, it is kind of it does stink knowing that you just don't have equipment with you because it's just not there.
Yep. So I would say the first 4 drivers obviously have been our most consistent drivers. Our next group of drivers, I'm going to throw the Ferrari guys out. The next group of drivers are definitely this mid-pack that's now coming on. And, if Ferrari keeps punting it all over the place, these guys are going to start leapfrogging them because Haas had a big haul of points this weekend.
Yeah.
So, Good on them. I mean, Mercedes having a third and an eighth is not exactly anything to sneeze about. Now, this is where the problem comes again for Red Bull, and we'll get into this right after this. Max once again scoring points, and Lawson was out to lunch.
Mm.
So, the other team that was out to lunch, VCarb. No idea what happened to them this weekend.
Strategy,
yeah. And then of all things, Yuki's following somebody, and the friggin' front wing just disintegrates.
Yeah, I mean,
it didn't get hit; it just disintegrated.
Yeah.
Well, coming up, I'm like, holy crap! How's he supposed to? Because you heard him on the radio. My front wing broke.
Yeah. Well, and I guess the message that I heard too was they couldn't tell if there was debris or anything that caused it either.
It was strange. So, I mean, they did a super slow-mo of it, and it just sort of went.
Yeah. I mean, parts fail when you're pushing.
Parts fail, so. And right, you don't know what that X factor was coming off the other car.
It is disappointing to see VCarb, or no, it's not VCarb, it's Racing Bulls. It's disappointing when Toro Rosso can just when they clearly have a capable fast driver and can't get the points out of it. So it's a missed opportunity, and for them, especially with that mid-pack group, you can't really miss that, because then otherwise, what they had happen to them, they just basically turned around and handed points off to every single competitor in that group. So, and that's valuable points. You can't do that.
So, all right. Well, I think that covers that. Yeah. I don't know anything else. I don't want to drone on about Ferrari, because I'm sure they're going to give us more.
Yeah, that's fine.
More tomfoolery later in the season. So next up is the Japanese Grand Prix in 2 weeks at Suzuka. Looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
Always a fun track there.
I think they're in cherry blossom season too, so it'll be.
It is springtime in Japan. All right, let's get into it. All right, reports are circulating. This is like the vultures are circling, and I think Liam Lawson's days on the Red Bull team are done. He will not be in the car. He will not be in the car at Suzuka.
He won't be in the Red Bull car, or he won't be in a
he will be
seat at all.
He'll be in the V car. He will not be in the Red Bull car.
Okay.
And again, this is now. I'm going to lay this one not on Liam, okay? Because I think he's a very talented driver. I'm laying this one on the dynamic duo of Christian Horner and Helmut Marko. Because for whatever reason, they could have easily solved this problem. There was two ways they could have solved this problem. One was offer the mother load to Sainz and have him come back and be Max's teammate. Or right thing and promote Yuki. And what I'm surprised that Honda didn't really force the hand on this, given that it's the last season with Honda.
Yeah, I think ever since the Honda deal came on, and they had to get Yuki into a seat, I think that was probably the distaste from Helmut and maybe it was Horner, or Helmut. At least Helmut.
Yeah, Helmut.
He seems very disgruntled about it.
Yeah, he's a fantastic judge of talent.
Yeah.
This guy's a clown. He was a third-rate sports car driver back in the day. And his only, I'm not even going to go to his claim to fame. I almost went down that road. I don't want to do it. I'm not doing it. He's a third-rate hack. The only reason he's there is because he's Austrian and he had ties to Dieter Mateschitz. That's the only reason he's there. He's out to lunch. He's like Flav.
Yeah,
right? He has no concept.
I mean, we had this talk last year too. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think Perez was really lights out either. Like,
But
this gets back to the point of what I said earlier. The entire grid is much
yeah,
closer. So when you
yeah,
have the same time gap between
yeah,
Verstappen and whoever else is in that second car,
yeah,
it's gonna look worse and worse. And ultimately,
yeah, right.
that's this
Yeah,
the same thing is what happened to Bottas at Mercedes, because
right.
uh, it wasn't every weekend, but there were enough weekends more often than not that Bottas was this, 6/10 off of Lewis. And
Right.
when you get 6/10 off and the rest of the field is catching you, you can't afford to be doing that.
Right.
So and
Oh,
and I don't the and look, I'm not even gonna even if this was Perez in the car. I mean, if you just look at the team, they didn't give Liam all the practice time in Australia because they had a problem. Then it rained, doesn't help to learn the car at all.
yeah.
You get to
Yeah.
China and it's a sprint weekend. I completely forgot it was a sprint weekend until
Yeah.
until I got a notification about, oh, sprint race is
So,
coming up, and I was like, oops. So
so like,
you
I'm
don't have
not.
practice time at all to get used to the
I
car.
know.
So
But
it's
given where he
yeah,
was, he should be. Given where he was with the V carb, okay. My feeling is he should be with Antonelli. That's where he should be.
yes,
Okay. There's no excuse for him to be where he is.
yeah.
It's 20.
No, I
The
agree.
the thing that's going to kill him right now, they can't afford to do this because Max has put this thing in multiple big points thing, and all they're doing is scoring points with one car. This is what they can't do because it's going to kill them. Like Ferrari gets its act together, gets two cars back. They're back in.
Mm,
Mercedes is putting two cars in the points. This is what's going to kill them.
yeah,
In the manufacturer standings. So they got to get somebody that can start scoring points. Now, the right thing, I don't know, but right now they got to go with somebody who's got some experience, and that's it. I mean, they blew it not trying to go with Carlos. I'm
yes.
sorry,
No, I agree.
but I I don't know if it's the dynamic of Yoss and Sainz Senior. I mean, honestly, I'm not a big fan of Yoss. I mean, honestly, he should just go and sit. He's the little league dad. He's the guy you can't, as a coach, you can't stand. All right. I mean, props to what he did for his son and all that, but oh man, go sit down and just go be somewhere because you're not, and don't be telling people in the pits like, he's like he thinks he's like Helmut's assistant. Whereas Carlos shows up and Senior shows up and he's just hanging around having a good time.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
whatever. I think these guys. I don't know. So
this
they can't wait. I'm
I
sorry,
think
they just can't wait.
I think this second seat has always been, I guess, cursed since Vettel has been
Yeah,
in the car because
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
Mark Webber had success in that car for
But
some
you're
races,
right.
but
It's
it's
just
never
it's
been
that it,
that team has never
it's
been two cars up at the front. It's always
it's a,
been
it's
one car
and
way out in front, and then the other one just like
and what I'm
it
going to
can be
say.
kind of up front.
I don't want to take the wrong way. It's a driver killer seat, meaning
Yeah,
guys' careers just get killed there.
yeah, and
So
out of the teammates that Verstappen has had in that Red Bull, or could have had in that Red Bull,
yeah,
I thought Ricardo was fine. I think he left because he saw what was coming, which was that they were going to develop around
yeah,
Max, and so he was trying to save himself, but unfortunately he just
yeah.
hit every team at the wrong time from there. And then Sainz didn't see a seat opening in Red Bull at any time, so he left
Right.
as well.
So,
So they
but
chose
but those moves he made advanced him to the point where he got to Ferrari.
yes, yep,
So from his perspective, he made all the right moves.
yeah,
Like I'll be honest with you. I'm still not 100% certain Ferrari keeping Leclerc is probably the best move. But
Yep. Yeah. I know.
all right.
I know.
I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, and this is the guy that's got the longest contract with Ferrari. I'm like, good Lord. Oof.
I mean, the Sainz not being in Ferrari, yeah, like he's said, the only way he's been able to comprehend it is it's Lewis. So, because who else on the grid really, I guess outside of Max is more deserving of that seat at the moment. But I was really mystified that they even took Lewis to begin with. Unless it was the fact that just Lewis didn't want to be at Mercedes anymore.
Right.
So,
which I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
All right.
But as far as this Lawson experiment goes, yeah, we talked about this last year. Like, if they start playing games and moving seats around, like, just good luck to them at this point.
Where this should have taken place was they should have taken Lawson and put him in the car. They should have just banged Perez out in Mexico. Like, after Mexico, cut him loose. Put Lawson into the car. Okay, see what happens. If he's on pace with Max, fine. But if there were shortfalls, which they could have seen, okay, now it's like, they could have said, this isn't working, we'll make the run at Carlos, otherwise let's go to Yuki. I mean, now they're 2 races in, they've only scored points with 1 car for 2 races. So now you're asking your second driver, if this is Yuki's got to be perfect the rest of the way.
At this point,
or do you bring in Yuki and just the damage control?
No, I think
on the manufacturers.
If you're only picking within the Red Bull camp, and right now it's really just Yuki or Liam, I think either one, you look stupid if you go to Yuki, and not only like do you just kind of compound the issue of you're not really helping Liam at all, because like I still don't think he's been given a fair share, and like, look, give him 5 weekends.
I see, but this is my thing. This is where the 5 weekends should have come in last year, because there was no reason to keep Perez in that car.
I get it, but I'm not talking about last year. I'm just talking about now. Like, just
I understand, but I think this all gets back to last year. Had they pulled the trigger and cut Perez loose, put Liam in the seat, then they could have seen what they had, and essentially coming into this year, if Liam's putting the car on the points, he's got confidence they can keep the car on the points. He's got no confidence right now. They can't afford one more race with him out in the points cushion. That's what it's coming down to.
No, I think they can afford this, because they've basically boxed themselves into this situation where they only have 1 car scoring right now. So your options right now is Liam and Yuki. So which one do you think will perform better by the end of the season?
Right now, Yuki.
You sure?
Yeah. Right now, I think he's going to. Liam has not got points in the first 2 races. If he goes one more race and doesn't get points, kills Red Bull. If Yuki comes out of the box, scores points, okay, minimizes what they've lost, okay, Yuki can finish anywhere from 5th to 10th, okay? That's where he can finish. I don't think he can get beyond that. That's just my opinion. If he does, God bless him. But Lawson hasn't shown me anything more than he's somebody that finishes somewhere between 10th and the back of the pack, even on his V-carb days.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying last year, if he put him in the Red Bull and cut Perez loose, they could have seen where Liam was. That's all I'm saying.
I get that. I'm not focused on last year anymore, because
I understand that, Christian, but the point being is you would have had 5 races in the Red Bull for Liam under his belt. The car did not change significantly that much this year, okay? So he would have had all that mileage in the car, come into the spring, the limited spring training, come into the first 2 races. He would have been in a much better position. That's all I'm saying. They have basically sabotaged themselves. That's what I'm kind of getting to. Because they're stuck with Perez.
With you. I think that, I don't think they've put themselves in a good spot. I just don't think they're going to make up anything at this point. Like the constructors titles is gone because you don't have you don't have a car that's capable of
you can't
of another driver keeping up with Max.
Christian, they go 5 races and Liam finishes 15th or 20th. You can't have that.
I think if they put Yuki in the car, he still doesn't finish well.
Okay. Well, we'll see, because I think Lawson's done. Like, he's going back down.
My take at the end of last year was they should have put Yuki because they didn't take Perez out and they didn't go after Sainz. I thought they should have put Yuki in it because then they could have done they could have had this exact same situation and been like, all right, you're not working, like, and you've already had years at this point.
And Liam started the season in the same car he was in last year, which is fine.
Right.
He's comfortable. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like,
so with this situation, I think it's better for them to just ride it out, because clearly Helmut doesn't want to promote Yuki. So just ride it. Like, if that's his decision, just stick with it and take the bad press, because you've already committed to it and you've paid Perez out of his contract just to get this kid in. So
I don't think
just give him the time, because this is where you're going down.
I don't think Horner can take the press on this anymore. So anyway, all right. So we shall see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. Just a couple other things, and then we'll wrap this up. Pascal Wehrlein, welcome to Team Penske for Le Mans.
Yes.
Pretty exciting.
Yep.
I like that.
I mean, he's going from
Formula
Porsche
E he is racing. He is racing. He will be teammates with Mr. Endurance, Nick Tandy.
That's very good.
And Philippe Nasser. So that's a damn strong lineup right there.
Yep.
I like that. I hate to say it. I know Newgarden was hoping to be in that seat, but with the race having a conflict. But I'll tell you this: I will take Wehrlein over Joseph in that car at Le Mans. All right. Anything else? That's not a whole heck of a lot.
No, I mean, this next weekend, MotoGP is racing in
Coda
here in the U.S. So that's good to watch. After that, and then I guess NASCAR is at Martinsville.
Yep.
But then
how did we do on our, just real quick, how did we do with our picks?
You and I got McLaren 1-2 correct in the correct order. No one picked George to be on the podium. Nate got Lando on the podium, but in the wrong spot. And then our dark horse. Well, where did Albon finish?
9th. Oh, hold on. Oh, damn. Because Carlos moved. He's finished 9th, so he finished 7th, I think.
7th. Okay. We all had Albon and Sainz, so sort of a success.
I think we're moderately successful with our dark horse. Okay.
Yeah, I'd probably say if they were in the top 5, that'd probably be good.
Start considering Haas for the dark horse now too.
Yeah, that was based on how they were at Australia, they didn't give me any confidence to go with them.
Because now Suzuka is going to be a much higher speed track than obviously Shanghai.
No, Shanghai is probably the higher top speed. Suzuka is going to be the much faster
but the overall, right? So what do you think? How do you think the Haas will do?
I have no idea. If I had to, between the two tracks they've been to, I would say Suzuka's closer to Australia. So I wouldn't say they would be doing very well.
Okay.
But I guess where were they last year? Checking. We are checking. No, I don't want to enter to win Miami tickets. No, I don't want to
Miami Autodromo.
Well, Haas finished 11th and 13th last year.
Wait,
And
wait.
then Sonoda
Okay,
finished.
see, I'm one of my things I'm thinking about. I think they're going to finish higher than Williams at Suzuka.
Yeah, it's tough to tell because Albon
I
DNF'd last year, so I can't even give you
Yeah,
a marker
and
where
did
they
Logan
might
Sargent crash in?
be. No, Sargent finished. He was just
Uh,
dead last
yeah.
on track as usual. So
dead last. Yeah. All right. Anyways, all right. Well, I'm looking forward to that race.
I am too. I mean, it'll probably be very single file. I don't really know how much on top of one another they'll be.
Right.
Because I mean, even just watching the Super Formula race there the other week, I mean, yeah, if you guys were fighting with each other, but I mean, it's definitely gonna take a massive tire advantage to be close and
Gotcha.
get a pass done. So
All right.
Qualifying will be interesting to watch for sure, because then you'll have a good run into turn one. So
well, lot to talk about, lot to look into for next week. So I'm excited. Or 2 weeks. So looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All right.
Alrighty.
And on that note,
Good night.
Thank you guys for listening to the Red Mist Podcast, hosted by Christian Abbott, Sean Abbott, and Nathan Lavin. It's produced by Christian Abbott, and music is by Alex Wart and Harrison Tate.